Well, thanks for your time today. It's not every day that we get to have a chat with somebody who's so knowledgeable about what is quite possibly a very controversial industry, that is plastic surgery industry in Korea. Can you just briefly explain what your background is, what kind of gives you that expertise when it comes to the plastic surgery industry in Korea?
My name is Tony Medina. I'm CEO of Soul Guide Medical. I came to Korea a very, very long time ago. It seems time has flown by. It's now been a bit over 18 years that I've been here. And I got into the medical tourism industry in about 2012 and incorporated what is now one of the oldest medical tourism companies, 2014. And the reason it's one of the oldest medical tourism companies is because the industry is so new. Korea has been doing plastic surgery for a very, very long time. But in general, the medical tourism industry is still quite new.
When you talk about medical tourism, what does that mean?
Medical tourism is someone from another country going to another country in order to get treatment, but at the same time enjoy themselves and have a vacation per se.
Korea has developed this reputation for, just being the go-to place for plastic surgeries. Why do you think that is? Like, what makes Korea sort of the mecca that you talk about? Why is the technology, in terms of the competitive pricing, why is it so advanced compared to other countries?
There are several reasons. One of the reasons is the infrastructure. The Korean government has spent a lot of money creating the infrastructure in order to support the system. And the reason they were able to put in so much money to do the infrastructure is because the demand here is naturally high based on Korean people. This country is very homogeneous, although there's a lot of foreign people that come here. I'm a foreigner. But the demand is from Korean people. So Korean people are very used to doing plastic surgery procedures, cosmetic procedures. There's such a large demand that you need a supply. So you have to create an infrastructure in order to accommodate this economy. And so the government invests. If you just walk up and down Gangnam Station, you see both sides of the road, giant buildings are all filled with clinics, and most of them are plastic surgery hospitals.
From the optics of it, would you say that kind of a stereotype that so many Korean people, pretty much all Koreans, get plastic surgery, would you say there's some validity to that statement?
Yes and no. It's not that all Koreans get plastic surgery procedures, but a large percentage, I think it was a couple of years ago now, a study that I read was over 70% of women in their 20s have gotten some kind of cosmetic procedure done. It doesn't necessarily mean plastic surgery, but some kind of cosmetic procedure done. That's a very high number.
What are some of those procedures?
Well, the most common procedures that we tend to do and most Korean people do is the double eyelid procedure. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a double eyelid.
What is double eyelid, right?
Yeah, before I came to Korea, I didn't know I had double eyelids. But then when I came here 18 years ago, it's much younger. And there's like, oh, you have a double eyelid, you have big eyes. I was like, is that wrong? And then it wasn't until later I found out that having a monolid, way before I was ever in this industry, can make your eyes look a little bit smaller.
Smaller, right.
Another very common procedure is rhinoplasty, a nose job where you improve the shape of your nose. Our face is divided into thirds, an upper third, a middle third, and a lower third, and a left and right side. So if you want your face to be in balance, one of the most important areas of your face is in the middle. It's the attraction point, especially because our nose tends to stick out. I'm from Canada, so I grew up, we didn't even really comment on people's appearance when I was young. And even now, although I haven't lived there for a long time, it's not that common to comment on people's appearance like it is in Korea.
Korean culture, it is quite prevalent for people to comment on other people's appearances, from your family members to your relatives to your uncles and aunts. Do you think there's a bit of a cultural element there as well?
The truth is that I broke my nose when I was in Canada. It was towards the end of high school. And when I broke it, I spent university adjusting my look whenever I passed a mirror. So it didn't start here. It started with me when I was back in Canada. And it was before I started in this industry. The technology sorry, it was after I started in this industry, but I just hadn't done it because I'm Canadian and because I was like, okay, I'll just love myself.
Right.
But the truth is, I've worked out most of my adult life. And whenever I feel that I'm becoming unhealthy, I hit the gym and I change my diet and I try to change to be the best version of me. And that was something I could change. So I made the decision for myself to do that. And yes, some people, they're like, oh, you have a hump in your nose. No malice behind it. But Korean people often comment on your appearance.
Right.
I'm sure you've heard, oh, you look tired. And you're like, no, I slept great, but oh, you have bags underneath your eyes. There's no malice behind it. They're just pointing something out. And often with the intention of helping you, like, oh, are you tired? Do you need some rest? Oh, you should go and get some rest. That's a very common second part. If you're not familiar with the culture, you could take it a little bit badly.
Yeah.
But if you are familiar with the culture, it's more like, oh, okay, I understand there's no real malice behind it.
Right.
But if you don't understand the culture, it can affect you negatively.
I think you're touching on something that's culturally very significant, because if people are not in Korea or in other Asian countries like China, especially, or in Japan, and they hear these type of comments like, well, how dare you, right? From their perspective, they could be very offensive, right? And I'm pretty sure that in the majority of Western culture, that is how people would perceive it. It's like, why are you shouldn't be commenting on my appearance, period. Even if I'm 300 pounds, it gives you no right to judge me, right?
The thing is that when someone makes this kind of comment, it may even be like a way to get closer. So it happened to my little brother in mainland China in Beijing. He was quite a bit younger, it was a long time ago. He was there with my parents touring, and the tour guide, bless her heart, she was just trying to be
nice.
It's a cultural miscommunication.
Right.
And she called him a fat pig, but
well, I mean, how else are you supposed to interpret it?
But the way she did it,
right?
Because I've lived in Asia for a while, the way she did it was kind of like, oh, you're like a little fat pig. Like, it was different. She wasn't trying to say you're a fat pig. She was trying to say like, oh, you're chubby. My parents lost it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I could imagine, right?
Yeah, my little brother went into this weird mode. My parents got all angry, started understandably.
Right, and then she's like, what did I say? What did I do? Right?
Yes, so there are all these cultural
it's cultural difference,
miscommunications that can happen based on the language that you speak. And we might both be speaking English right now, but we may not have, in our own language, we may not have the exact same understanding. So some languages use imperatives more than others. Some languages you go and they're like, sit, eat. Whereas in English you might say, would you like to sit? Would you like to eat? But if you say, would you like to sit? That can be considered rude in that language.
Right.
That means you don't want them to sit. So I think as long as we all come with a little bit of an open mind, and we don't use our kind of own culture as the base culture for the entire world, we can understand each other a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm glad you're touching on this thing, because you read comments and the majority of people are like, oh, why do you need to change how you look? Why can't people accept you for who you are? It's like it's just an ongoing debate that'll never be settled.
In a way, you're completely right. It's interesting because if you have gained a lot of weight, well, where I come from originally, we don't want to point that out. We want to look at the person on the inside. Who are you on the inside? And I agree, that's important. But if it's my friend or really anyone I know, I also don't want them to get sick. I don't want them to get diabetes.
Right.
Diabetes has been in my family for a long time, and it's devastating. Now we're more educated on the topic. There's many things we can do, but I would prefer to tell my close person, hey, maybe we should hit the gym, maybe we should improve our diet, maybe in a roundabout way instead of being so direct. But what happens when it's your face? And what happens when no one's telling you, but it's just you, and you want to do something for yourself?
Right.
It would be like getting angry at someone for putting on makeup. I don't think it's right for us to tell men or women not to put on makeup. If they want to put on
Exactly.
makeup,
Yeah.
that's their right. It's their freedom, freedom of expression of who they are.
Right.
We don't have the right to tell someone not to go to the gym. If they want to go to the gym and improve themselves, yeah. We don't have a right to tell someone not to go to work. If they want to work hard, let them work hard. If they don't want to work hard, that's their choice as well. We live in this wonderful society where we have these freedoms to be whoever we want to be. And if you're someone that has something you wish to change, as long as it's not damaging to other people and damaging to you, and it's going to make you feel better, then why not? There are cases that we've turned away patients and they haven't been happy about it, but
Why did you turn it
because it's damaging to themselves.
down? Oh, I see.
Some people are not mentally prepared for this change, or they're not totally committed and they're up and down, up and down. Us and all the people we work with, we do not accept these patients, and we try to tell them kindly that if you're going to do this procedure, you can't really go back after you do it. So you have to have your mind made up, and if you're not at the mental state, mental health is one of the most important things that we're now realizing is an important thing. And if you're not in the mental state to be ready for the procedure, then we advise not to do it. And we've had patients that have pushed us to do the procedure and pushed the doctors that we work with to do it, but we didn't feel comfortable, because if you're not in the correct mental state to do a plastic surgery procedure, it's not right for us to do it.
It's still kind of fascinating how Korea became to be this mecca of plastic surgery. Is it because in your mind, Korean people just have that much of that unrealistic beauty standard because of their, K-pop culture or K-drama? Like, what is it about Koreans?
I have a different take on your question. I'm actually a really big fan of you. I've watched you for a very long time. One of my favorite shows was when your team helped the halmoni, the grandmother, and you went to her house, you fixed things up, you gave her money. I've watched you for a long time. I've seen how hard you work. And this is what I think Korea is. Korea is a place where you come and people work and people develop and people grow. After the Korean War, this was the poorest country on earth. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I was talking with a taxi driver the other day who was telling me he had nothing to eat when he was young. They used to go with his father into the forest and eat bark off the tree. And we're still living. He's alive in the same time frame. So, and now we have Gangnam. Koreans tend to be good at anything that they try. Amazing in the film industry, amazing at figure skating. Pretty much whatever they try, they tend to do it to the best of their abilities. Even if they're not the best, they take it professionally. You go to the shop and it's a worker at a Dunkin' Donuts and they're professionally trying to service you. We don't have tips in Korea. They're not doing it for tips. They're doing it because they take that responsibility seriously. Let's just be the best we can be while we're doing whatever it is we're doing. So when I see the plastic surgery industry, I see it as an extent to how Koreans are. That they want to become the best in something. And so they develop it and they develop it. The Korean education system has the hardest university entrance exam of anywhere in the world. To get to university, you have to be the best. To become a doctor,
you have to be the best of the best.
To become a plastic surgeon, you got to be that 1%, the best of the best of the best. And to get into Gangnam, as a plastic surgeon, in most cases, unless perhaps your family was originally very wealthy and they're supporting you even though you're not making money, you have to be the best of the best of the best. So what happens is you get these super highly qualified people who have dedicated their entire existence to this. And instead of working 4 days a week and playing golf for 3 days, they work 6 days a week here. The 7th day they rest. Then they don't really take huge vacations. Most of the plastic surgeons take a couple days here and there, and then the general holidays like Chuseok. And often they work during those holidays as well, because it's one of the times where Koreans really like to go to the clinics because they have time. So we're talking about people fully dedicated to their role in life that they chose. So they want to become the best of the best. And I think that translates into the physical appearance. They take care of themselves in general, right? Not everybody, but in general, you walk down a street in Korea and people are dressed nicely.
Yeah.
Their hair is done.
I can't dispute that, yeah.
It's very hard to dispute this. Their hair is done, they look clean, they're very meticulous about everything. But this translates into your appearance. Most women, again, I can't say all, but most women here do makeup, and many men do makeup as well.
That's true. That's true.
So what's the next step? Well, if I can tweak this and I can tweak this and I can tweak this, and I can have better balance and look better according to my perspective, then why not?
When you say there's this explosion of people coming to Korea to get any kind of procedure now, does the Korean government advertise some of these things? Because or is it just purely word of mouth?
It's both. The Korean government, for every $1 USD that they invest into medical tourism, they get back 3. It's a great investment for the government. So a few years ago, the government planned out $1 billion investment over the span of a few years.
So Korea, as a government, as a nation, they're really pushing for this.
Well, they're pushing for soft power. So in order to export the brand of Korea, they export K-pop, Korean food. Korean food is everywhere now. K-pop is everywhere now. Korean dramas and Korean television. And so wherever you go in the world, pretty much people know something about Korea, and they have a fairly good image about Korea. So all of this works together. They've made a very good system based on solid fundamentals. And so when people come here, they're not disappointed. They see the high quality of Korean food. They see the interestingness of K-pop, the awesome, I love Korean movies and dramas. And the quality of the medical treatments here across the board are incredibly high. It's just another level. If you go to a skincare clinic, you walk in, they know what they're doing.
Okay, so I think and I think this is something a lot of people will broadly agree upon, that people want to come to Korea to get all these procedures done and, come on as medical tourism, whatever, because it's cheaper, the quality is way better. Then we sometimes hear horror stories, right? I guess when the market is so hyped up and people just simply have no idea where to go, because as you said, in Gangnam alone, there are 1,000 places you could just randomly visit, right? So I don't know how you're solving this problem, but is it a matter of crowdsourcing the ranking system or the ratings? But some people do end up getting a completely botched job, where they're that's not what but then somebody's fucked it up, right? And so can you describe to us, in this kind of everything looks amazing, but is there sort of the side of Korean plastic surgery industry that no one's really talking about but needs to be highlighted from ethical standpoint?
I agree with you and I disagree with you, so I'll explain both sides. I agree with you. It's not perfect. It's not always going to be perfect. You have a very high likelihood that you're going to get something good, as long as you have realistic expectations and you know what you're doing. The problem is that many people don't have realistic expectations and they don't know what they're doing. So even my Korean friends, they contact me, they're like, hey Tony, my mom needs surgery, can you help? And we don't charge them, but I'm like, yeah, let me give you advice, let me tell you where to go, let me help you. And that's Korean people, local people. It's hard enough in your own language to go to a plastic surgeon and understand everything that's going on, understand how the industry works, yet alone if you're a foreign person coming here. So going through, let's say, an agency is a great idea. If you're cost conscious, I would say that if you're cost conscious, it's okay. do all the research by yourself, go in, but you don't have any backup when something goes wrong. So that's one side of thing. The other side of things is that yes, there are plastic surgery procedures that don't come out the way it was intended to. And it's not that the doctor didn't want that to happen in most cases, right? There could be some malicious doctor somewhere. But it's that it happened. It came out that way. So the thing that we focus on is, okay, if something really came out wrong, medically speaking, well, how can we intervene? How can we help to see if can the doctor do the surgery again? Because when you have a surgery, you sign a paper that says, if something goes wrong and I don't like the way it is, I will not complain. And I do not have a right to get a refund. And you can't have a plastic surgery procedure in Korea unless you sign that paper. So getting a refund in Korea, next to impossible. We've gotten refunds for patients actually, because we have quite a bit of power when it comes to this kind of thing, but only in cases where, you know, the doctor maybe really messed up and he didn't want any responsibility. And in some cases, I paid for it myself. Not even out of the company money, out of my own money. And I'll tell you why. You talked before about reputation, but reputation comes, like, we're not perfect people, right? Like, you're just normal people, but we try to do as much good as we can. And if someone is putting their trust into you and it's a reasonable request and the doctor's not taking responsibility, well, we're the ones that recommended that doctor. It's their choice, of course. Right. But in some cases that I've deemed it, especially we've had some, like, I remember in all the years we had a couple of university students and it didn't come out the way that they wanted it to. Right. And they're like, I don't have enough money to get it fixed. And the doctors were not being cooperative. And I was like, this is not right. Like, they're university students. Like, I remember what it was like to be a broke university student. And this could affect their whole life and their self-esteem and their entire future. And I'm not that young anymore, so I've been working a long time. We have enough. Okay, let's get her another treatment. Let's just pay for it ourselves. So we have done this. So we try our best in order to have the most successful procedure possible. But if something goes wrong, we don't just not answer your questions. The entire team is here. If you want to call, we call. If you want to send a text, we text. We try. We've had some patients be upset at us when this happens, even though we didn't do the procedure, but we're kind of in the middle, right? And of course, we understand. So they can take out their frustration on us, because in Korea, you won't have the chance to take out your frustration on the doctor. Like, it doesn't work that way. So it's okay. We're here to take that, but we're talking, this is less than 1% of all the cases that we do.
I see.
But yes, this can happen. And there have been the cases where in clinics where we never worked and didn't work, where this kind of thing, like a ghost doctor.
Maybe explain to people what ghost doctor means, because people probably don't know what that means.
So Korean people are very hardworking, but it doesn't mean all Korean people are good people. Like, not all Canadian or American people are good people. There are people that are
just wanting to make money and stuff.
Yes, and I understand you need to make money, you need to pay your people, you need to survive.
Right.
But and as I said, we're not perfect. But if you make an agreement to do a surgery on someone, we expect you to follow that.
Of course.
So in our clinics, we have CCTV. We only work with clinics that have CCTV cameras that are recording the surgery. And this is because a few years ago, there were some less reputable clinics that may have had good marketing that pulled in people. The famous doctor, the head doctor, started the surgery, but then quickly left to do another consultation. And then a rookie doctor, they call them pay doctors, that they're not the owners, they're salary doctors, came in to finish the procedure.
Unbeknownst to the patient.
Unbeknownst to the patients, and illegally doing so because the name of the first doctor was on the medical records. And so this is what's called a ghost doctor. Ghost doctors are very rare these days.
Right.
Because almost every decent place has a CCTV camera. And if they don't do the surgery there.
Right.
It has to have a CCTV camera, not just for your protection, but for even the doctor's protection. You don't know if the patient could say something against you. And
yeah, actually, I never thought about that because, you know, once you get knocked out, you're under anesthesia or something. Who knows what who's doing something to you, right?
And that's why my team is usually there at the clinic, taking care of things, looking over things, making sure nothing goes wrong. But the minimum requirement these days should be the CCTV camera.
I see. So you guys have to be very selective in who you work with as well.
Yeah, there's over now there's over 600 plastic surgery clinics in the area of Gangnam, which is less than 43 square kilometers, which is about the size of Manhattan.
Right.
That's not to mention all the skin clinics, all the dental clinics, all the other clinics around. So you have to choose not just who is the best, but who is the best with the right amount of responsibility.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that these doctors will keep that level. There have been clinics that we've dropped and they haven't been happy about it. And I wish them the best. But
why did you have to drop some of them? Is it because they just don't live up to their end?
They
of the
don't live up
bargain?
to the standard. So the whole reason that I made this company was because I was a patient. I didn't speak Korean. I went to get my wisdom teeth removed. They were trying their best, but there was a cross-cultural miscommunication, and they removed all 4 at once. And the next 2 days I spent pretty much as a dead man,
Right.
the most pain I've ever been in my life. There was another time where I did speak a little more Korean. I went to a skin clinic to remove some age spots underneath my eyes. And it was just some clinic in Myeongdong, not even Gangnam. I walked in, it was about lunchtime. The doctor's like, oh, I don't know. I didn't really know what he said, but it was like, oh, it's about lunch. And then he sat me down, didn't tell me anything, no numbing cream. He just put me in a chair and he said, tss, tss, tss.
Oh.
And yeah, I had like tears coming down my eyes.
Right.
And then he's like, oh, 점심. And he left. No explanation, nothing. And the staff came in, no explanation. They put a little bit of taping on.
Yeah.
And they sent me out. And I didn't know that if you go into the sun after you've had this kind of procedure, you can get hyperpigmentation.
Right.
So what did I go do? I'm like, well, I have these bandages. I don't like how they look. I took them off. This was before I worked in this industry.
Right.
And I went to play a football match.
Oh,
I was
man.
out in the sun for like 2.5 hours. And I got hyperpigmentation for about a year. Like it looked like I was tattooed all over my eyes.
Right.
And then I started to think, I was like, if there was only someone to help me.
I see. So, and do you guys do like all the research and screening and who you would decide to partner up with?
Yes.
Right.
It takes a long time for us to find a new partner, let's say. They need to have a reputation. I need to know them. Korea is not a big place, so you kind of know people if you've been here long enough. For example, one thing you may not have thought about, but I think about all the time is, do they drink? And if so, how much do they drink? If they're going out after work, they finish work at 8, 9 p.m. at night, and then they're going out drinking until 1 p.m. If you're, let's
1
say...
a.m. you mean?
1 a.m. I don't want my doctors to be drinking until 1, 2, 3 in the morning and then performing a surgery with alcohol still in their blood. Where are they going? Are they going out to the club on the weekend? Or,
Wow, she sounds like a private investigator.
well, you kind of have to be.
Right.
Are they going out to the club on the weekend, or are they going to play golf? Are they spending time, let's say, with their families, or generally in good ways, or are they doing things that are harmful, possibly harmful to the patient later? How do they think? Are they mostly interested in money, or are they interested in giving the best result that's possible? What is their viewpoint on foreign people?
I see.
Are they willing to give that extra time? Because not all doctors are willing to give that extra time. Some doctors resent foreign people because they take up so much more time than the Koreans.
Whether people use your service or not, let's say people are interested in getting, like they're very interested in getting some sort of a procedure done in Korea, like, oh, I might as well just travel to Korea for some sort of procedure, what are some of the things that they should watch out for, even if they don't end up using your service?
Sure, I'll give you the best tips possible. Number one, you have to have realistic expectations. If you come in thinking that you're going to look like an Instagram photo with someone that has a completely different base than you, you're going to be unhappy with the result. Whereas if you came into it thinking, okay, the doctor is going to design it based on my facial features and try to maximize my result, you're going to be much happier in the end. Two, you get what you pay for usually. Doesn't mean you have to pay crazy amounts of money, because it's relatively reasonable here. But if you are fighting for discounts with a doctor, that's not a good idea in general. Would you go to a heart surgeon and try to negotiate before your heart surgery?
Well, I mean, people would argue that heart surgery is sort of like more of a necessity, where this is more like a cosmetic type of thing. Although it's probably equally life-threatening when you go under the knife. So,
well, it is your face, right? I advise this. If you don't have enough money for the procedure, for the doctor that you want, save a bit more money. It's worth it. Don't go for a lower quality thing just because it's a bit cheaper. One little mark on your face may change your entire personality. You may lose self-confidence. You should be very, very careful with your face. You get what you pay for in general. Number two. Number three, even if you were back in your home country and you went to a plastic surgeon, it doesn't mean you're going to understand everything. So if you're going to come, do as much research as you can.
how do people even do research like on their own? Like out of those 600 clinics, is there anything they should watch out for?
I don't really recommend that you focus on the clinic or even the doctor. I recommend that you focus on like the medical research. What is it that I want and what do I need in order to achieve it? For example, if you're going to do rhinoplasty, you could get it done for $500 in Thailand, but it would be a closed rhinoplasty. That would be like working on a car without opening the hood. But most procedures in Korea are open, where they make an incision here in the columella, lift it up, and now the doctor's looking at everything. Well, this little incision and lifting it up now costs more time, more money, more staff on the doctor's side, which increases your price. So if you are aware that there's a difference between closed rhinoplasty and open rhinoplasty, now you're going to start understanding, okay, this doctor wants to give me a closed rhinoplasty. Ooh, this may not be the best idea. I want an open rhinoplasty. This doctor seems to be giving me a better result. Another example is, for example, breast implants. Breast implants are very popular to do. There are some doctors that advertise doing a breast implant perhaps with the wrong method of insertion for the size.
Right.
So for example, many people want it done underneath their armpit because it's less of a visible scar, but there's a limitation to the size.
Right.
So if you don't know this and you're pushing the doctor to do it here,
Right.
and you make the doctor agree and then something goes wrong,
Right.
it would have been better if you had that knowledge from the beginning that there's a limitation in size. If you want a larger implant, you should probably put it with an incision here and just understand that there's going to be a light scar. So I highly suggest that people focus on the medical side of the procedure to find out how it's done, what needs to be done, and then start focusing on finding the clinic and the doctor.
How do you see this plastic surgery industry evolving? And do you think that Korea will continue to develop and then just become this even a bigger mecca of the plastic surgery world? Or do you see other countries catching up? Like, how is the industry evolving in general?
So going back to our point about Korean people working very hard, and it's something I respect, the level of technology, the level of training is improving every few months. Every few months you see a new machine, a new technique, a new procedure, doctor doing this kind of training, and they're always trying to up their game, you could say,
Right.
to improve. So because of this, I don't see anything but a continued boom.
I see.
Because just the level of skill, the results that you get, the infrastructure that's here, it's very attractive. Like my mom comes here
Right.
for everything, and she's like, okay, Tony, I'm coming. Like now she wants a facelift. I'm like, I don't think you actually need a facelift. Let's do something a little bit non-surgical. We're having an argument about it right now, but she could do it in Canada as well. There's some good facelift doctors there, but she knows that the techniques are high, everything's improving. So all I see is growth, and I've seen it by the number of foreign people that are here now. You walk down Gangnam Station from here to a place called Apgujeong.
Yep.
It's just visibly filled more, even though the data hasn't come out yet, visibly filled more with foreign people, way more than before COVID.
Lastly, is there any word of advice for people who might be thinking about getting plastic surgery in Korea or just in general? Like, I think you covered most of the points, but any last words?
Yeah, I'll give a tip. Don't do it too fast. Come to Korea and do your procedure. But if you expect to, for example, you expect to do a plastic surgery procedure and fly in and fly out the next day, that's not the best idea. It's better to get a professional timeline from the clinics or anyone else, like another professional, and say, okay, I need 7 days for this procedure, I need 10 days for this procedure, 14 days, and don't try to lower that time. Yes, if someone wants to have a plastic surgery procedure and it's not going to hurt anyone, it's not going to hurt themselves, not going to hurt anyone else, we should be a little bit more supportive. Maybe it goes deeper than just the outside. Maybe it's affecting their inside, and maybe it'll drastically improve their life. And that's something that I think we should support.
We can totally leave at that. So thanks for your time again, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Cool.